Well, good morning, everyone. And I want to thank everyone for coming out today for this update from our Richmond Fire Department on what we've seen so far in 2021, particularly with regard to the 3 fatal fires we've had this year in our city in the first few months of the year. We've only gotten a quarter through the year, and we have unfortunately lost 3 lives here in the great city of Richmond. For reference, we had 2 fatal fires in all of 2020 and 2 fatal fires in all of 2019. Now, in a moment, Chief Carter will review these incidents and talk about some of the commonalities we've found and some of the challenges we have faced during the pandemic and how we are addressing them. But let me just note, and I've said it before, and I must say it again, our most valuable asset here in the city of Richmond is our people. They give us our talent, our energy, and our spirit, which makes Richmond a unique place to live here in the United States of America. And we can't afford to lose a single one of them. Not another man, another woman, or another child. Which brings us here today to talk about fire safety. We have a great fire department, I think the best in the Commonwealth of Virginia, and we have a great fire chief to boot in Chief Carter. Consistently, they are there when we need them, but they can't live in each and every resident's home or in each business in this city. That is why reducing the occurrence of fire deaths and injuries is everyone's responsibility. The fire department is committed to a strategy that focuses on community engagement and education aimed at reducing the threat of harm that results from fires. Now, before Chief Carter comes up here, I just want to reemphasize for everyone listening just a few of the basic things we can all do to keep our families and our neighbors and ourselves safe. First, we need to have, and you should be practicing an escape plan just in case of a fire. Next, avoid unattended cooking situations. Make sure your smoke alarms are operating and have batteries. And finally, please check on your loved ones, especially our seniors and elderly and disabled individuals who may be living alone, and make sure they are safe and are practicing these basic prevention measures. Now, these may seem like simple, common sense steps, and ladies and gentlemen, they are simple, common sense steps. So let's do the simple and common sense thing and follow each and every one of them. As most of you know, last year we invested in several new state-of-the-art pieces of fire equipment and apparatus to keep our city protected. But nothing would make me happier if they never left the firehouse. So please help me and help keep our city safe for the rest of the remaining year. 3 lives lost, Chief Carter, are 3 too many.
Absolutely.
And with that, I'd like to hand it over to our Chief of the Richmond Fire Department, Chief Melvin Carter. Chief.
Thank you, Mayor Stoney. Give me a second, please. Thank you, everyone, for being here today and participating in what we describe as an outreach to the community to help reinforce our commitment to our city for a fire-safe city, to reduce fire fatalities, absolutely, but also incidents of fire. And I just really want to echo the mayor's comments. One life lost is one life lost too many. And fire is not just an issue here in our city, it's a national issue. It's a national issue, it's a state issue, and it's a local issue. Unfortunately, this morning, our neighbors to the south of us, Chesterfield County, lost 4 in a house fire this morning. And so today, we want to share with you some of the things that we in the Richmond Fire Department are doing to ensure that we maintain a solid covenant with our citizens in executing our mission in first preventing fires, educating, and enforcing those situations that may contribute to a fire. I will provide a brief PowerPoint today and then entertain a few questions, if you will. If you will, Amy. So I want to just bring to light what it is when we have a working fire. What does that mean? A working fire says that when our resources are dispatched by the Department of Emergency Communications and when that first unit arrives on scene, he or she is encountering situations that may require the need for additional resources. Richmond Fire Department, when we do deploy, we deploy up to 37 resources on the initial assignment, 37 people. That's 28 firefighters on apparatus. That's 2 battalion commanders. There's 1 air light support unit. There's an investigator, an incident safety officer. Richmond Ambulance, our public safety partner, provides a crew of 2. The Department of Emergency Communications, 911, yes, they are part of this package of resources too. They have people working on their fire consoles. And RFD provides at least 1 or 2 police officers to block traffic. As I said, up to 37 people potentially from public safety partners are deployed to reduce and mitigate these risks. Working incidents are similar to working fires, but not as severe. These incidents may be longer in duration and require specific roles and specific tasks by our officers and different work groups. But for today, we are going to focus on working fires and the impact that they have. Amy? In 2019, we had 165 working fires in the city of Richmond. During the same time period, we had 50. The same time period from January 1 to today, there were 50 fires. In 2020, you saw an uptick, 190 fires and 55 in the same time period. And 2020 was a little bit more, we had a little bit more robust winter than we did this year. And we were in the early phases of the COVID pandemic. In 2021, we've had 50. So the number has gone down a little bit. But what really jumps out as you look at the fatal fires, and Mayor Stoney covered it earlier, we have had 3 thus far in 3 months versus 2 in the whole of 2019 and 2 the whole of 2020. And just for the note, for the record, in 2018, Richmond Fire did not experience any fire fatalities. So of the 7 fire fatalities since 2019, 6 of those occurred on South Richmond. Again, 6 of those fires occurred on South Richmond. In 2021, the fatalities that we have all focus on the top leading causes of fire. And the top leading causes of fire are cooking, heat-related, electrical, smoking, and candles. And as you can see by the fatality in January, had smoke alarms, but the cause of fire was electrical. In March, no smoke alarms, and there were some cluttering conditions, which some may refer to as hoarding in the home. The cause of fire was electrical. And then the second fatality in March, male victim, no smoke alarms, cluttering conditions, and again, causing fire was within the top causes of fire in our community and in the nation, smoking. Fatal fire commonalities, locations, all but one, again, on South Richmond. The time of the year, winter, as you might expect, is colder. People are using heat sources more frequently than normal. Smoke alarm issues, all but one of our residents, our fatal fires, had functioning smoke alarms. And as with the age of our victims, what we would commonly refer to as seniors, are one of the 2 highest risks for fatal fires. Living conditions alone, 2 of those victims had heavily cluttered homes. And the cause of death, as you see, smoke inhalation, 2 had burns, which were also a contributing factor. So as I've mentioned before, these fatal fires all were in the parameters of the top fires within our national fire problem. So what have we done and what will we do to combat this threat? And what you see here are members of our department in these pictures, these photographs, are handing out fire education literature in the neighborhood surrounding the fatal fires. We believe that's appropriate. We think that's a good act. However, it's after the fact. And so it's not as proactive, it's not proactive at all. And so while we've done this for the past 30 years, our approach needs to be leaning forward through community risk reduction efforts. As again, we have our smoke alarm program. It's been around for at least 20 years. And the number is there if someone wants to call for their relative or themselves, 804-646-1526. But I cannot emphasize enough the importance of having a safe exit plan out of your home if it should catch on fire. There's a moniker we refer to as EDIF. It's called exit drills in the home. People take that for granted because we don't believe fire will ever happen to us. And so I implore you to educate yourselves and develop a exit drill for your home and practice it. The most important part of that is practicing it and having a common meeting place so everyone in the family knows where we should be if there's a fire event. Quite often, when people get out of the house of a fire event, they may be in the rear of the house, they may be on the side of the house, some people may be neighbors, and they think that someone is missing, and they run back into the home. As a matter of fact, I participated in the fire early in my career where someone did that, and both of those members perished, a child and an adult. So we plan to revise our fifth grade education, fire safety education program with Richmond Public Schools, and also further that effort to expand that into the Richmond Technical Center, a recruitment program for high school children that want to one day work in public safety, be it the fire department, police department, or 911 operators. But through the education of the fifth grade education program, we want to have a second step to that program. And also we want to increase the deployment of our fire safety house program to community events. We have a grant-funded fire safety house that teaches any and all the importance of fire safety in the home. Now, due to the constraints of COVID, we haven't been able to take the house out as much as we want, and obviously there have not been any special events because of COVID, but that's one of the things, one of our initiatives that we definitely plan to re-engage as the COVID threat becomes less. Since January 1, we've had several multi-alarm fires, and some of these fires have occurred in senior facilities, multi-story senior facilities, and in at least 2 occasions we had near misses with seniors. So we have had fires which resulted in fatalities in single family dwellings, and then we've had multi-alarm fires in permitted multi-family, multi-story senior facilities. And in one of those facilities, we've had previous fire deaths in the Imperial Plaza facility. So we plan to redouble our effort and our commitment to working with the staff and the residents to make sure they have a fire-safe building. So this, ladies and gentlemen, concludes the presentation from Richmond Fire Department. I talked about the factors that contribute to fire fatalities, fire injuries. One of the things that I did not talk about is that although fires nationally are decreasing, fire fatalities nationally are decreasing, but we are still displacing people from their homes when the fire occurs. And the greatest impact when we displace people from their homes are to children. Typically, 25% of children are displaced from fires. And so we don't want them to fall through the cracks. And so we will begin to work more robustly with Richmond Public Schools to make sure that we can identify and track kids when there's a fire in their residence, to make sure that they are identified, taken care of, and that we can lessen the impact that this fire has had on their lives. And lastly, the impact of COVID. More people are home, more people are cooking, and cooking is the leading cause of fire. And so COVID-19, the pandemic, has definitely impacted people's lives in terms of fire-related incidents. And so with that, that concludes our presentation today. I want to thank my leadership team, the Fire Marshal's Office, and definitely our public safety partners, DEC, RFD, and Richmond Ambulance Authority. And again, I want to thank the mayor and all of you for being here. And lastly, I do, from the City of Richmond and the Richmond Fire Department, our hearts and prayers and thoughts go out to the family that lost lives in Chesterfield today, as well as the brave men and women of Chesterfield Fire Department and all the efforts that they did to save that family's life. Thank you. Sir.
I think we'll now take some questions for me or for the chief regarding the report to the community from the Richmond Fire Department. Amy or Jim?
So, obviously, as you mentioned, 3 fatal fires so far this year. It's only April, and you touched on this, but can you talk a little bit about why that's so concerning just 4 months into the year?
I don't know whether or not you were here in the early part of the report or my remarks, but I believe the average in the nation right now is 2.9 for the entire year. Right now we're at 3 already, and we only have gone through a quarter of the year. We have 9 more months to get through, and that is obviously that's a big red flag for this department, but for our city as well. I stated earlier that 3 lives lost is 3 lives too many, and we don't want to see another one lost this year, and that's why we're trying to get the message out to the community that please have a plan, practice your plan, check your smoke alarms, do these simple, they sound simple, but they can actually save your life. And so when you compare our numbers from the previous years, we're obviously on the uptick, and this is where we want to stem the tide right here in April. Chief, you want to add to that?
As the mayor said, any loss of life is concerning. And I'm the fire chief, and we are in the business of preventing fires, preventing loss of life. More than a prop, a simple, free, offered by the City of Richmond, smoke alarm can save someone's life. This simple tool can save your life. It doesn't require investment of money, just an investment of action. A simple phone call to the Richmond Fire Department, 804-646-1526, can save your life, can save your family's life, your children's life. Help us help you. We are in the business of emergency response, but our primary role is to educate you, partner with you, be there for you before you need us in the non-emergency mode. So, hope that answers your question.
Allie, do you have a question?
Yes, I wanted to ask, you mentioned a national average of 2.9 fire. Is that for like a city our size or just all cities?
I actually just learned the stat while I arrived here. It's per capita, correct?
Per 250,000 population.
Per 250,000 population. So, Richmond's roughly 230,000. We have unfortunately lost 3 lives, and so we are above where we should be, above the national average when it comes to per capita.
And I have a few more questions that probably go to
Chief?
Carter.
Yes, ma'am.
In the 3 fatal fires, 2 of them you mentioned issues of hoarding.
Yes.
And I wonder, was that a contributing factor in your firefighters being able to get to that person, or that person being able to get out of the home?
So in the interest of time, I could talk all night and all day on the safety of the men and women of the Richmond Fire Department. Entering an uncontrolled environment to fight an uncontrolled fire is just inherently risky, dangerous to your health and safety. And one of these fires, not only was it cluttered with a lot of floor to mid-ceiling of storage, there were also 9 reptiles or more in the same location. And so we eventually would like to invite you all to participate in a customer fire academy. Because when firefighters enter a home, it's not like TV, where, like Chicago Fire, where I can see you across the room in a burning house. When the home is on fire, we're crawling. We cannot see in front of ourselves, and you don't begin to see any light until you get really close to a fire. And so those particular fires pose a whole lot of risk for our men and women. As a matter of fact, historically, we've lost a firefighter in a situation, it was a commercial situation, where he was off of Jeff Davis Highway because of storage and debris inside of a building. So.
And Chief, you touched on this already a little bit, but obviously we know the tragedy in Chesterfield this morning, 4 dead, including 3 children. As a fire chief in a neighboring jurisdiction, what's going through your mind, just kind of reaction to hearing that?
What's going through my mind is just that I know, as well as the members of the Richmond Fire Department know, what it's like to give your all, do your best, risk life and limb to save others. The men and women of our fire department do that. The men and women of the nation's fire department do that. Fire departments do that every day. And to be unsuccessful in saving someone's life, particularly children, weighs heavily on their men and women, as it has in our city and our neighboring counties. And so my heart goes out to again, to their members, our members who were unsuccessful in the 3 fatalities that we've had this year. They take that home to their families, and that's why mental health is such a huge issue in the nation's fire services, because our members are exposed to a lot of carnage, a lot of tragic situations, and you just don't walk away from it at the end of your tour of duty.
Ellie, did you have another question that you didn't get a chance to ask? Or?
No, I think I'm good, thank
Okay.
you.
Laura, you good?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank
Be
you.
safe. Be safe.